Hey everyone. Okay, we're live, I think. What a weird and wacky thing that just happened. So if you were just tuning in before, we had a little technical glitch, but we're live now. I see the red button. It says we're live. So let's be live. So hi everyone, welcome back. I'm just going to click on something real quick in there. So we're back. We're back for the final release and reset masterclass. I'm so happy that you're back here. If you haven't been here before, I'm Giovanna and I run this little group here that's called Dating and Relationships That Work. And I put the comma in there recently to, delineate that this is about that work that we have to do on ourselves, right? In order to be prepared to be in the relationship we desire. Now, does that mean that you're going to do the work and you're going to be a-okay and then you're going to find the person and you're going to have no problems? No, we're not deluding ourselves, right? We're realists here. We know that relationships are really a holy laboratory, right? For you to do your work and to continue to grow as a person. They are not a place where you get all your needs met and where there's a happy ending and a fairy tale ever after and all of those things that, we'd like to be sold on. And geez, I wish were completely true, but they're not, right? They're actually a beautiful place for us to feel loved and supported, heal our wounds even, but also grow as people. And when we're open to all those things, that's that work, right? That's the work that makes it work. So final masterclass today. Today is actually probably my favorite of the masterclasses because I'm going to walk you through my New Year's Eve ritual. We're not going to do the whole thing together because we would be on here for a few hours. But I am going to walk you through the process of how to do it. I'm also going to pull some cards. Now, if you were in my first or maybe second masterclass, I had mentioned that I sometimes use like oracle cards or tarot cards. I use them really as tools, right, to connect to my higher knowing or my higher self. And I'm not a tarot card reader. I'm not an astrologer. I'm none of those things. But I do find them to be a really valuable tool for getting me to think. And I'm going to use them for the first time today on a live, like I've never used them before, in that I'm going to pull some cards for 2022 just to see what the insights are like, of course, as it pertains to, love and relationships and those things. So, what is the point of a ritual, right? I've had people say to me, well, like, what's the point of ritual? If you look at ritual, every culture, every religion, every country, even families, right? Even family units have their own specific rituals, right? It might be Sunday night dinner, family time, right? No TV, dinner, phones off the table. It might be that your particular religion or spiritual affiliation has a ritual. It might be that your country has a ritual, right? Like maybe every year or every 4 years when there's the World Cup, your country gathers together and does specific things. So we are creatures of ritual. We are creatures of creating ritual. We have rituals when people die. We have rituals when people are born. All of these rituals actually help bring intention and sometimes closure and sometimes an opening, right? An invitation. So rituals are very, very important to both be able to lead and facilitate for yourself, but also to be part of, right? To have within yourself and your own practice, but also with your community. So one of my favorite times to do a ritual is to do a New Year's Eve ritual. Now it's funny because even throughout the year, I have a meditation that I do with my clients called the New Year's Eve meditation. That's something a little different. I might share that with you as well today. But New Year's Eve in particular is my favorite time to do a ritual that is both a closure and an opening. Okay. Now I do this every year. Some years I do it with great confidence and hope and gusto, which is how I feel this year. Other years I kind of do it because I want to do it, but it just I don't feel it, but I do it anyway because I know that it's going to be supportive to me in some way. For example, last year, this time of year, I didn't want anything to do with my New Year's Eve ritual. I was just so battered by the whole pandemic and all the lockdowns and all the stuff that I didn't want to do it. This year, though, the energy feels really different. And I don't know if you guys are also feeling that. I don't know if it's wishful thinking and everything's going to go straight to hell next year. But the energy does feel really different this year. And so I'm approaching this with much more renewed hope and gusto, and I hope you guys do as well. So, the ritual that I do every year for New Year's, like I said, is a closure and an opening, and it's very, very intentional. Now, what's really, really important that I want to delineate here is none of this is about magical thinking, right? There's nothing wrong with magic, right? Harry Potter fan right here. I love magic, and sometimes magical thinking can be helpful. But sometimes magical thinking can actually put us in a place of passivity where, we think we're going to sit on a lily pad and, focus on something and manifest it and like poof, it's going to be in front of us. Maybe, right? And often not. Often we have to put in our own work, right? We have to kind of meet God halfway. So I don't want this to be, leading into a lot of the, new age magical thinking. Rather, I want it to be a really powerful tool and exercise of awareness and intention. Often when I do this ritual and I walk myself through the steps, I realize, wow, like I, I didn't really realize that I wanted that particular thing. But here I am writing it down and like imagining that I'd like to have that. It's like, wow, that's interesting. What could I do? What steps do I have to take in this coming year to actually get closer to that? Right? I remember one year I was really getting clear about things and I was writing down that I wanted to work on my book. And I thought I had put that far behind me. And there it was again. And so I had to take the steps to get that into motion. So, what is the New Year's Eve ritual? So, first of all, up until now, we've been doing a process called cord cutting, which is an energetic, intentional ritual exercise that gets you into the intention of breaking negative ties with people, right? So you can do this with someone who you still want to keep in your life, and you could also do it with someone who you don't want in your life, right? Or who's already out of your life. But the intention here is to break or sever the energetic cords that bind us together. And that was the whole intention of that particular exercise. Today, we're going to be doing that a little bit different. We're going to be doing that with the New Year's Eve ritual. Now, you can still combine that cord cutting exercise with any number of the things that we're going to write on our first list to sever your ties to that thing. Could be smoking, could be overeating, it could be whatever, right? You can use that same intentional cord cutting exercise, right, that we use. And if you're new, and if you're watching this video for the first time and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, go back and watch the other 3 videos and it'll walk you through the different processes and the different ways that you can do this energetic cord cutting. So for today, grab a pen and a piece of paper. And if you're watching this on the replay, of course, you can always pause it. I'm going to just move through all the things. If you're watching this live and you're like, oh my God, you're going too fast, don't worry. You can go back and watch the replay. It's going to be posted in the group and it'll be on YouTube. You can go back, watch the replay, pause where you need to pause, rewind, all that jazz. And you can also ask me questions in the comments. And I will do my very best to get in there, before the end of the year and answer as many things as I can tomorrow. So, and of course, this is something that can be repeated every year, right? It's not specific to 2022. This is very much a lather, rinse, repeat process. So the first thing you're going to do with your pen and piece of paper, and I have my journal here, which I love, and I always have a journal. So I've already filled one up this year, and now I've started a new one with lots of blank pages. This is one I'll be using tomorrow. Grab your journal, and the first thing that I want you to do is really like a cleansing. It's like a purge. And I want you to write down everything that you are complete with. And it's very, very important that you're writing the words, I am complete with, right? I've had enough of, right? And you're going to list down all the things that you've had enough of, right? It could be that you've had enough of obsessing about your weight. You've had enough of obsessing about a certain guy, right? You've had enough of being alone. You've had enough of constantly doing the same things over and over. Those are sort of on the negative side, right? But sometimes we also want to comment things that we've had enough of that that are almost an act of gratitude. So what do I mean by that? I have enough, not I've had enough, but I have enough money. I have enough abundance in my life. I have enough love in my life. So these aren't necessarily things that, again, we want to get rid of because we're wording it as I have enough of. But these are all things that we want to compound and sort of purge out of our system because they are what our current state is. You could also write down stuff that's your past state. Now, if that feels too confusing to you and you want to stick to the negative, that's perfect. I usually tend to stick to that as well. We're going to do another list in a minute that is more gratitude related. And if you want, you can parse those two things out if I've just confused you. But you can do either or, okay? So sometimes we want to put in a little hint of the enoughness of the gratitude of things that we have, which we're not complete with, we don't want to get rid of, but we actually just want to put them on our list, our inventory of the current state of affairs, okay? So in this purge, you are going to, like I said, list your current state of affairs, okay? So, and again, also things that you intentionally are done with, right? I am complete with this. I'm complete with dealing with, so-and-so's BS, or I am complete with my cupcake addiction or smoking or shopping on Amazon too often, whatever the case may be, okay? So you're gonna create this list and you're gonna literally write everything out that you are complete with or that feels complete to you in this moment, right? That you feel completed by. So on this list, I like to focus on the garbage, right? I like to focus on the things I wanna get rid of completely. So write and write and write and write. And we're not going to pause the video because we're live, but you can on the replay pause this video. You're going to write out until honestly you're done writing. Like your hand is sore, you have a cramp, you feel complete, you've purged out everything that you want to leave behind. Maybe part of what you want to leave behind is like constantly watching the news, right? The fear porn, worrying about the state of the world, like all of those things. Write it down on your list. Okay? So, assuming you pause this video, and if you're live, you're going to just take the notes and do it later. You are going to then do a completion with this list. And the completion with this list that I like to do, this is just me because I like to burn things, a bit of a pyro. I like to have a burn bowl. And my burn bowl is where it's a stainless steel bowl. You can use a pot. I go outside, and this is where I release all of that energy. Everything that I put into there, I just release that by burning that. And as I'm burning it, I am intentionally releasing all of that. Okay? So step 2. Step 2 is where you now want to call in. So you've completed with a bunch of things, and now you want to call in the new stuff, right? Those stuff that you really want to bring in. And I want you to be really intentional with this list, right? Like really specific, right? So if you are hoping that in 2020 is going to be your year to find your one, right? Is going to be the year to find love, then be really, really specific about it, right? Have yourself, be specific that you want to call in the person who, makes you feel XYZ, right? Who I feel this with, who is really respectful of me, who I can have fun with, etc. If you're calling in like more fun in your life, like maybe you've not been having very much fun, like a lot of us have not been having a lot of fun, right? Maybe you want to be more specific and say like, I want to dance more in 2022. Like I want to call in more dancing and more fun and more laughter, and try to be as specific as you can. Now, sometimes it's just a feeling that you have, right? You just want this particular feeling. You don't know how to express it. That's okay as well. So again, we're doing this live, so I'm not going to pause the video, but you will tomorrow when you go back and look at this video. Go ahead and again, write until your hand completely cramps up, okay? You're going to write and write and write all the things that you are calling in, like you're literally calling it in for 2022. Your desires, your intentions, all of that, okay? Be very mindful here that you're not putting like negative stuff. Now, that gratitude stuff that maybe confused you with the first list, you can add that as here as well. You can add things like I'm so grateful for, or I have enough of friends in my life. I have enough of travel. I have enough of these things. And it's a way of telling the universe, I have enough, but I also want more. Okay? So you can write that all on this list. Great. So you know the drill. Burn, baby, burn, right? So burning isn't just an intention or a ritual of being done with something. It's also, in the past, it's been used to release the energy of what's tied up in that thing to release it into the ethers, right? To transform it. In alchemy, it's changing form, right? In this case, not from, mercury or lead to gold. Now it's changing form from that written word, that energy, that intention that you put into that, releasing that into another form, which in this case is smoke. So you're going to go ahead and do that as well. By the way, if you don't want to go to your backyard or front porch or wherever you're going to do the burning, if you don't want to do that twice, you can do this at the same time, right? So often what I do is I make both lists, I separate the two, and then when I go outside, I do one at a time. And again, with that same intention of what that is. So if it's the intention of releasing it, I make sure I put the intention of releasing in that burn. Same with the intention of calling in. Okay, great. Now you're done your writing. Now you're done your burns. The next thing I do, the step number 3, is when I do cards for myself. So I actually pull cards. Now I'm going to pull cards for today, which is something I've never done on a live before. I usually just do this with my private clients, or I'll do this with my friends, or on my New Year's Eve ritual. But I'm going to do it today on the live. So I have 2 decks that I love to. I have a lot of decks. I'm gonna confess that I have a bit of a Oracle card purchasing obsession. But today I'm using the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann, which is one of my favorite decks. I'll show you in a minute. Like, the artwork is phenomenal. It's just beautiful. I love working with the archetypes of the tarot. I talked about archetypes on, I think, week 2, when we talked about Carl Jung. I absolutely love the way the tarot expresses archetypes and how it helps you work with archetypes, right? A lot of people use it as a form of divination. I don't necessarily use it that way. You can, of course, but it's a beautiful way to sort of connect to archetypes that are at work in your life right now. The second deck that I'm currently obsessing on that I love to use is by one of my dearest favorite people, is Colette Baron-Reid. She's got, I think, here, hang on a second. Can you see it? I've got a glare happening with this light. There it is. Here, I'm going to just put it on an angle so you can see it. So this is the Spirit Animal Oracle, by Colette Baron-Reid. And it's, again, the artwork is beautiful. I love working with animal spirit and symbolism. I often, if I have an interesting encounter with an animal, I love to look up what the symbolism of that is. It's most often, very relevant to what's happening currently in my life. So there you go. So that's basically what we're going to do today. So part 3, like I was saying, of the New Year's Eve ritual is that I do a spread. And the spread that I do is for 12 cards for 12 months. So I actually will shuffle and I will prepare, and then I will lay out 1 card per month, right? 1 card per month that is going to symbolize the energy of that month, or what's going to be in store for me that month. Or really what I use it for is, what is the lesson of that month? And then I go through and I record in my trusty journal what each of those months entails. And I just put it away. I put it away and I kind of forget about it. And then each month, as I remember and as things happen, sometimes I remember at the beginning of the month to have a look at it. Sometimes I don't remember until the month is over, or till the end of the month, but I'll go back and I'll have a look and I'll reflect on what that was. And does it relate, right? Is there something that was going down that month that actually relates to that? Was there something that, I should have been looking out for that maybe I missed, right? Maybe there was a lesson or something like that. So again, there's a plane going by that's very noisy. But again, I like to use that to, again, codify or finalize the New Year's Eve ritual, right? As I do a whole spread for the whole year, 1 card per month. Sometimes I double up and I do multiple cards. You can get fancy, you can do whatever you like. But it's another way that I like to seal sort of that year. And always, 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 and I forgot to say this at the beginning, I always have a candle burning. So you can't see it here, but I have a white candle burning. I usually will light that at the beginning of the ritual. Again, white candles, it's a form of purity, it's a form of cleansing, it's a form of, opening a space, but also healing a space. So again, all of these different little symbolic things. I've done this New Year's Eve ritual live before, and I've had incense, etc. Really, whatever feels good to you. Let me just quickly check if there's any comments. Great. Awesome. Okay, guys, so I've already pre-shuffled the decks, and I'm going to do another quick shuffle because I am going to pull out what the love energy is for relationships next year. Now, we are, if you know anything about astrology, going into a Venus retrograde, which I will not pretend to be an astrologer and give you all the details of, but please do go Google that on YouTube. It is definitely a time, you know, Venus is the planet of love. There'll be lots of old loves coming in, lessons, maybe meeting people for the first time. So do check that out on the Googles on YouTube. Right now, I'm going to get just a hint of what the energy will be like in 2022 for the possibility for all my single ladies that are out there. And again, this is very general. If you want something that's more unique to you, if you want to have a Love Insight coaching call, I do offer that for free for people that are interested in using their singleness to repair and prepare for the next and the one. And right now, this is a little more general for everyone. Okay, so just got a card there, which I'll show you in a minute. And then again, that beautiful tarot deck that I showed you, we're going to ask the symbolism there. And we're going to ask Spirit to guide us for the love energy. Ooh. Almost had one pop out for 2022 for all my single ladies. Interesting. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm actually going to look these up in their respective books because I don't have them all memorized. And again, I am not a tarot card reader. I mean, I am, but like totally amateur. So we're gonna look it up just to make sure that I am actually interpreting this right. Which, okay, good. I always like to double check myself because again, I'm not a pro here. So what I got, so here for the tarot card, I'll show you. Hopefully I'm not going to get a glare. Well, there we go. That showed up really pretty. Hang on. So the Seven of Swords, this card actually looks quite ominous. And it is a card that usually tends to talk about betrayal. It is about the universe bearing witness to true intentions, getting away with something, being strategic, being grateful for resources that you have, and moving silently and quickly. So this to me indicates that likely, and again, this is very general and it's not for everybody. If it applies to you, great. If it doesn't, you can drop it. But this to me indicates that some of you are very likely going to be moving away from a toxic situation, right? Moving away from some betrayal, moving away from something that's been really difficult, okay? Interestingly enough, the card that came up on the animal side, and this is why I love using these two kind of juxtapose each other, is the hawk spirit. And the hawk spirit literally says here on the card, let spirit be your guide. And it's exactly that. So one of them is talking about moving away from toxicity, moving away from something that's not healthy for you, making kind of a rough decision or a tough decision that has to be made. And the other one is really encouraging you to let spirit guide you, right? Be with spirit with this, trust, tune into spirit and have that be your bigger vision. And I absolutely love these two messages because literally the book that I wrote, which will be out on Valentine's Day, it's on pre-order right now, is about these very two lessons, right? These two lessons that, oh, there they are, that really have followed me my whole life, right? Is the courage to kind of walk away from something and trusting spirit to do it. And that's a tough one, right? That's a learned behavior, by the way, right? Like, so this is not, it should come innately to us. And I think in our origins, it does come innately to us, right? To trust spirit, to move away from darkness into something that's more light. But in our humanity and in our lostness and often in our love sickness, which is what my book is about, we tend to we ignore signs, we ignore red flags. And so this very message of like connecting with spirit, this is like a learned behavior. It has to be taught. It has to be learned. Sometimes we're like, what does that mean? I don't even know what that looks like. Sometimes we don't move beyond something that is not good for us because we don't actually know what the good thing on the other side is supposed to look like. We don't even know what it's supposed to feel like. And so if we haven't had those things modeled for us, it's really hard to be able to know where to go. It's really hard to know that you are sabotaging your own self when you're in it, right? So a very dear mentor of mine has always said to me, when you're the red in the rainbow, you don't see other colors. And that applies here, right? So if you are in a toxic situation that you have to move away from, sometimes you don't actually realize that you're in there, right? Sometimes it's sort of like that analogy of like, how do you boil a frog, right? In cold water, very slowly turn up the heat. It doesn't notice it. And so sometimes that's happening with us. So I think hear the message. And again, it's not for everybody. You might have an individual message, but if you're watching and this resonates with you, it might be that you're one of those people that needs the help and support to move away from someone. And you're going to get that help and support by, trusting in your inner spirit, trusting in God, spirit, or the universe. So New Year's Eve ritual complete. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun doing this. Like, this is not supposed to be serious. This is supposed to be fun. If you want to have a glass of champagne while you're doing this, great. I usually put on music. I spray some, pretty nice smelling sprays, or I burn essential oils. Or, I do something to really set up the environment to be cozy and fun. And I create, right? This is about co-creation. And this is it. This is the time of year to do this. So I hope this has been enjoyable for you. Again, if you're watching this or you've seen the others, and you're curious on what it would be like to work together, to actually have a guide, a support, a mentor, to walk you through this phase of your singleness, to prepare you and help you repair for the next one, then please get in touch for a Love Insight coaching call. They're absolutely free. They're by application only. And also I have a brand new group program that is coming up next year. It'll be launching in February, just after my launch day for my book, which I guess is kind of a birthday because it's my book baby, which launches on Valentine's Day next year. The program will start shortly after that, and we'll get started in that. It's going to be really great. It's the program that I wish was around when I was struggling through all this dating single crap. So if that is of interest to you, let me know. Send me a message. You can comment below. You can send me a private message and I'll send you a link to apply, and we can chat to see which option works better for you, one-on-one or working in the group. Thanks so much for being here and tuning in. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, give me a hashtag replay, ask all your questions in the comments, and please do share this with a friend.